Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 9 of season 4 of The Flash, Don't Run. And this is another really solid episode of the series. So let's just kind of get right into it. I'm really enjoying Katie Sackhoff as Blacksmith, and you can tell that she's having a grand old time playing this character. Um, and we do kind of get a little bit of Blacksmith's backstory here. It's interesting that she was just a stewardess before all of this happened. And her story kind of is a nice example of how you can just take some ordinary person, give them power, and then they just turn into someone who's just like a cheerful, happy murderer. I mean, it's a perfect example of the old, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's kind of interesting, I think, that, as people who enjoy superheroes, I'm sure, have all imagined, like, if I were to get power like this, I'd go out there and I'd use it for good. I'd use it to be the kind of hero I've always read about. And, I've done the same thing. But over the years, and just sort of observing human behavior, I have to admit I've become increasingly skeptical of that idea that that's how what people would really do. There was this really honestly pretty mediocre anime series I watched years ago called Lying Barrels of Iron that kind of played with a similar thing. And it's sort of like, what if you took your average Japanese junior high school kid and gave him a mech? Well, he thinks he's going to go out there and he's going to be this hero for justice, but he pretty quickly drops into just sort of using this to seek petty revenge on the kids at his school who are hassling him. Now, there's more to the story than that, but I always thought that was a great example of what would really happen if you gave people, like a lot of people, power. Is despite how they might say, I think a lot of people would end up abusing it. And as somebody, I think, once observed that, people who talk about how, if I had this sort of power, I would be a hero, or I would, do it and use it selflessly. It's not really that. It's really more, they're not really looking for the opportunity to be a hero, to use their powers, to serve others. They're looking for the ability to become an abuser themselves. And while I would be seriously surprised if anyone ever had such noble sentiments as, if I had superpowers, I'd be a hero, clearly, as soon as she did gain those powers, she did strike back at people who had, in her eyes, abused her. Now, granted, being pissed off at people who've been sexually harassing you, yeah, that's perfectly justified. But it's not really the sort of thing that you should be murdering people for. And, never mind the whole thing of becoming a crime boss and just gleefully murdering people who get in your way and kidnapping and all this other horrible stuff. She sort of loses some moral high ground there. And while it is kind of amusing to see Katie Sackhoff obviously having such fun with the character, like her whole thing of like, oh yeah, here, Caitlin, you need to perform surgery under these terrible conditions with these crap-ass tools, and if you fail, I'm going to kill you. You get what you pay for, Amunet. But nonetheless, this served as a nice opportunity for Caitlin to strut her stuff as Caitlin and show that, she doesn't need to have power. She doesn't need to be Killer Frost to still be someone who's a formidable person in this world of superpowered people. And, it doesn't quite exactly work out the way that she wants it to, but she still shows that, Caitlin Snow is nobody to be underestimated either. And I like how Harry and Ralph all kind of made time to sort of show, like, hey, you know what? I like you for you. Especially Harry. That scene between him and Caitlin at the coffee shop, that was nicely done. And I do like that both Caitlin and Blacksmith think that the Killer Frost coffee drink from Jitters is really tasty. Maybe I'm just a little bit weird about that because I tried like this raspberry mocha thing at Starbucks today. Anywho, nothing really huge to say about Ralph this episode. Him trying to hit on Amunet at the end, that was dumb. But I did like how he pointed out that, you know what, it's been a long time since I've had friends, and I'm kind of crappy at being a real friend. And it is acknowledged that, you know, he is trying to be a better person. Um, Him and Cisco butting heads, I mean, that was nicely done as well. Not the most riveting thing of the episode, but still well done. And I loved Cisco's moment with Gypsy's gift, and then Joe telling Cisco, "No, you can't go upstairs to a room in my house. Take that back to your place." It's just like, jeez, that was great stuff. And you know Harry's reaction to like, "Oh crap, I know what that is. No, 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 no." Iris actually had quite a really good moment this episode where she sort of realizes, you know, if I'm going to be a part of Team Flash and if I'm going to have be in a situation where I might have to really make some leadership decisions, some command decisions, that this is not going to be easy. Especially since, well, Iris has been around in this world for like the better part of 4 years, really being somebody who can exercise some serious control over what happens. This is kind of a new thing for her. And it's not an easy situation to be in. I mean, making the hard calls is not an easy thing. That's why they're called hard calls. But she comes through and, you know, deserves a round of applause for that. Let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Oh yeah, I'm continue to be very amused by Iris being pissed off at Felicity sort of shoehorning her and Oliver into getting married into her and Barry's special day. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out the next time the two of them interact. I foresee a rather embarrassed apology coming out of Felicity on that one. How hilarious is it that they also ended up returning Felicity and Oliver's gift? I mean, it's like, wow, what a diss. Oh, and I love Mick's present to them. 40 toasters that he obviously stole. People have pointed out this is probably a little bit of a nod to that famous comics meme, Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes and that's terrible. And if so, man, bravo to the Flash writers for that. That's brilliant. I love that. Um, oh yeah, nothing really particular to say about Brainstorm as a character, by the way. But I did like his moments with Caitlin, where they did take some time to humanize him a little bit before, well, he gets his body hijacked by the Thinker. Um, I did really enjoy the fight between Barry and the Thinker. Quite nicely done. Um, and pretty interesting that, man, that chair is nothing to be messed with. I mean, Thinker, Barry has its moments, but Thinker does take him down in the end. Although I have to admit, I wondered why didn't Barry do the arm thing? Oh wait, no, wait, that's Reverse Flash that can do that. Have we seen Barry be able to do that? I don't think we have. Yeah, the arm spinning thing. That's how Eobard Thawne took down the original Firestorm. Oh God, I love that clip. I love that fight. I actually have a clip of that as one of my favorites on YouTube. I sometimes will just sit back and just watch that fight again. It's spectacular. I love it. Yeah. Now, granted, there's also the Flash and Thinker flying around the city having this fight, which you would think would probably end up on some surveillance cameras and just people whipping out their cell phones and stuff. But okay, I imagine the Thinker has taken some sort of a precaution to ensure that his face is not recorded. Nonetheless, this is going to be something that was witnessed, and you would think that, hey, who's fighting the Flash now? Okay, and I do like how when it's all over with and Barry is taken captive, when the Thinker shows up, Barry's just like, okay, I'm impressed, because you know he's seen some crazy stuff, and the Thinker just sort of blathers on about, you know, you're here to learn a lesson. And I just love how Barry just is continually unimpressed by all of this. And he also plays it really smart. I mean, he starts, you know, trying to go to work on the Thinker's wife. And what's interesting is that he actually succeeds. I mean, you can kind of tell that there is some genuine resentment with her, despite her protestations about how their relationship is so equal. And what's interesting is that if you're talking about the thinker when he's Clifford, then yes, he clearly treats his wife as an absolute equal and has nothing but respect for her. But when he's in thinker mode, he has a tendency to sort of shift and treat her a lot more like an assistant. Now, he's not completely devoid of showing his genuine affection for her in that situation, but you can tell his personality and thus their relationship has shifted somewhat. And she's not blind to this. She is not blind that he does seem to, when he's in this sort of mindset, set himself above her. Think back to a couple of episodes when she starts to talk to him and he just says, "My inevitable victory." And she goes, like, "What are you talking about?" And then he just says, like, "Okay, okay, make your argument." She makes her argument. He goes, and it's like, "My inevitable victory." I mean, he's not even going to let her speak her mind. He considers it been a waste of his time to listen to what she has to say, even though supposedly he loves her so much. Well, okay, supposedly is the wrong word, but still. There is a noticeable drop in respect and equality between those two when Clifford is hardcore in thinker mode, and his wife is not blind to this and is clearly not happy about it. And I like how Barry just sort of deals with the situation by just sort of like standing still and just vibrating very, very quickly. It reminds me of a little bit of an old trick I read from of him in, like, I think he was thrown into this trap by maybe the turtle. And the idea basically was like, "Hey Flash, I've got you trapped here in this room. If you use your super speed to try and escape, these bombs will go off, and you won't have time to escape, and you'll die." No, wait, this was a Jay Garrick story. That's right. And so Barry or Wally or whoever ultimately asked him, "Well, okay, well, how did you get out of that?" And he said, "Oh, I just walked out of the little trap they had at normal speed. They never considered that I would try not using my speed to escape." And Iris even makes the observation that Barry is doing things at normal speed, like cleaning the house, something he would normally have done at super speed, which, I thought was also a very nice touch. So, yeah, now we've got the thinker in this other fellow's body, and well, this makes it very interesting because you don't really have to. If this continues, then you don't really have to worry so much about who you cast as the thinker, because you can always just have him be in someone else's body. Now, granted, I don't know if they're completely done with the fellow who's been playing the Clifford up to this point, but I guess we'll see. Okay, guys, that's everything I've got for you this time around. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Please also join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.